welcome back to the Breakfast Show. Now, remember those days when you were a teen?
Oh, that was too long ago.
I don't think, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to them. Yes. Remember those days when you were a teen and you thought, well, I can eat anything. I can eat 2 burgers, a pack of French fries, a milkshake, and go on after and eat a pack of nasi lemak, mee goreng,
and big bag of crisps as well. Oh, that's yummy.
Nothing,
right? There was once I had a one-on-one session with my friend. We went to a fast food outlet and go, how many cheeseburgers can you go? We actually went for 7 and he went for 8. Okay, how in the world
I did the pizza thing.
Oh goodness!
Like how many slices of pizza can you go? Oh yeah, well, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. But you know, those were the days. But you know what? Actually, in modern days times, eating healthy can be sometimes very tough, especially when you're a teenager on the go.
There you go.
And during this age where your teen is, feeling quite invincible, like how we did, without a thought of consequences, it is tough, as a parent, to get them to try and even think about eating healthy.
Exactly, of course. They think they know what's best for themselves. That's the problem. And with kids now, they're busy with school. You've got tuition classes, you've got ballet classes, you've got violin classes, football practice. Healthy food is not always high on that priority list. And for many teens, you've got a pack of crisps, a ramly burger, soft drink. Oh, that's it. That's enough to fill up the tummy. It's enough said, bro.
Okay. Anyway, on our 3rd week of Wellness Guru session, we have our expert here, Mr. Wong Eugene, to shed some light on this quandary when it comes to teenagers and cultivating good habits on eating. So, welcome back.
Welcome.
Thanks, Eugene, for
Good to
coming.
be here, guys.
Very good.
Good
Of
morning.
course, you remember your years as a teenager, yeah? Were you aware of nutritional needs even at a young age?
Actually, at that time, most of us are actually in a blur. We just take whatever is coming, whatever tastes good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
even though I was a sportsman when I was young, I was playing a lot of squash.
Yeah.
There wasn't actually a lot of information I can get. And now, looking back in those days, wow, we ate terribly.
Exactly, and I think it's a continuing trend, especially when parents don't put enough emphasis on it. So what is the single most important tip for a parent, or for parents out there when it comes to teenage nutrition?
Now, the thing is, parents always give advice to the kids, but the most important thing is actually example. You can't expect your child to consume breakfast if you're skipping breakfast most of the time, and you can't expect your child to eat non-fatty food if you're eating it all the time. And worse still, if you consume alcohol and you smoke, you can't be telling him, you should avoid it, stay away from things like this. Exactly. So example is probably the most important thing. They need to give very good example to their children.
There you go. Of course, many parents out there going, yeah, I give you examples. Maybe, I don't know. But of course, it's a heart-to-heart session. It is definitely one you have to ask deep within yourself. Am I showing my teenager the kind of example that he or she needs?
Yeah. So lead by example. So naturally, they would have to eat healthier themselves and avoid some of the bad habits in order for their kid to follow their footsteps.
For sure.
But what are some of the other challenges you think a teenager face? Maybe not so much with to do with parental influence, but maybe external factors.
Right. Teenagers, I'm sure they go through a lot of emotional stress.
The hormones are just governing them.
A lot of emotional stress, love, and then they are also exposed to sex for the first time.
Yes.
And also they may be straining their bodies because a lot of them will be playing sports, and they will really love to excel in it. So there are really actually a very special nutritional needs for children, for teenagers. So for teenagers, they have to be a little bit more wary of the food that they eat.
And at this point in time, according to statistics, or of course from teenagers you've spoken to as well, what is the common deficiency among teenagers? As I understand it, iron is a big source of concern.
Yes, that's definitely one of them. It depends whether it's for the boys or for the girls. It's a little bit different. And it depends on which kind of areas of problems you have. An example would be for a common one would be acne. A lot of kids, that's the age where that's the age where they're most concerned about their looks, and it is popping out everywhere.
That's true.
So one of the main deficiencies in that would be essential fatty acids, the omega-3s. Omega-3s.
Found in fish.
Found in fish, but Malaysian, the way we eat, we don't really get much of that. So it's quite good to take a supplement. The ones that I recommend would be flaxseed oil. Otherwise, it would be cod liver oil. That's good. and usually supplemented with zinc.
So it's okay for teenagers to go, to take supplements as well, especially in this day and age?
Yes, actually, I normally say that if you have a good baseline, meaning that you eat very well at home, you don't really need to take supplements. But for teenagers, you know, it's actually quite difficult. The only meals you can really control is probably breakfast and
maybe dinner.
Yeah. But anywhere in between, you don't know what
Anything
they really
goes.
eat. Yeah. So I usually say it's quite good to take a broad spectrum multivitamin or antioxidant.
And of course, I mean, the body, I mean, if there's an excess of that, the body just gets rid of it. So there's no harm done, yeah?
Exactly.
All right.
And of course, I think the habit of drinking water, because you know, kids love to drink their sodas.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly, they're living off this high sugar intake.
carbonated drinks. So you know, and there's no habit of drinking water.
Yeah.
And I think that's also quite key, especially if you talk about your skin condition, you know, acne and all that. Water is like the first thing you have to do.
Well, what happens when a teenager out there just consumes too much of these soft drinks?
Well, obviously you would know that soft drinks, they're loaded with a lot of sugar,
Yeah.
a lot of coloring sugar. They're totally empty calories. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that it contains phosphorus.
Phosphorus,
Yes,
okay.
and phosphorus reduces the absorption of calcium in your body.
I see, it
And,
makes your bones brittle, yeah.
Yes, and because it's important for teenagers to have strong bones. That's when they develop the strong bones. You don't want anything that interferes with the development of calcium. So soft drinks, not good for the bones.
And would you say it compounds the problem for girls as well, especially looking at in later years there's osteoporosis and so on?
Exactly. Because the age where you actually develop dense and strong bones will be from the teenage years up to 35.
I see.
And any time after that, you cannot, the bones don't become any denser. You can only maintain it, but you cannot make it any stronger.
I
so
see.
that's actually the best time. One thing that a lot of people forget is also the exercise bit. Because you need weight-bearing exercise to develop that strong bones.
So of course, for parents out there, we'd like to encourage you to ask your teenage sons and daughters to get off from the front of the TV or stop playing that console games and go out there and get some sun and maybe some sports as well. Okay, we're looking at the fact that obesity is a problem here in Malaysia, you know? And of course heart disease is also a major killer here, the number one killer in Malaysia. Does it start from the teenage years?
Obesity, definitely. The way we are eating now is just horrible. It's laden, our food's laden generally with a lot of fat, a lot of sugar. And these two are actually, not only do they increase the calories in your body and increase the fats in your body, but they are also anti-nutrients. Anti-nutrients meaning that the type of fat that we eat actually stops the absorption of certain types of minerals in the body. So it's like a double-edged sword. You're getting fatter, and you are also stopping the absorption of very important nutrients for development. So that's one of the major problems.
I see. Well, okay, we talk about lifestyle diseases such as obesity and heart disease, but here's another one. Many teens nowadays are not as tough as they used to be. I remember, you know, being sick and still going to school, playing football and so on. But nowadays, I do see teenagers going, I'm always sniffling, or I've always got a cold, or I've got phlegm, you know. And lots of parents are going, hey, you're not eating enough vitamin C, you know. Parents always give you, hey, where's your vitamin C? Eat your supplements, or have an orange or whatever.
That's right.
How true is that?
Vitamin C, actually, it's been shown that vitamin C does not help in terms of the frequency of colds that you have, but it helps in terms of severity. So I have a recipe.
Oh,
that I want to share with
Eugene's
people.
cold treatment, okay.
So basically, if it's a very severe cold, day one you take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour.
Oh, okay.
Every hour until the saturation point. Saturation point meaning that you start having loose stools.
I see.
So what happens is that the vitamin C absorbs water into the intestines and having loose stools. So that's where you stop.
I see.
And then day two, take the vitamin C every 2 hours.
Until saturation point.
Saturation point again. That's where you stop. And day three, take 1,000 milligrams of it every couple of hours.
Every 4 hours?
Every 4 hours.
Wow, and of course you maintain it until the cold is over, yeah?
Yeah, maintain this until the cold is over. This will reduce the severity of colds by a lot.
I see. I mean,
from my experience.
what's the strategy behind this? Is it hydration, or is it simply because of the fact that vitamin C causes you lose bowels, and of course that increases the flow within?
Frankly, I'm not too sure, but then this has
Actually,
been
there's
shown in
very little
studies, yeah.
research to actually link the whole correlation between vitamin C and common colds.
Like you said, the frequency of it.
But I found that to be quite
Yeah.
useful for treating colds for teenagers.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so there you go. As long as you have a place to go where you need to, of course, relieve yourself, that is great, right?
And it's not,
cold is a problem.
it's not dangerous, so it's okay to have mega doses of vitamin C.
Excellent.
Well, I think one last thing that also obviously concerns teenagers, of course, you know, they're stressed by a lot of homework and schoolwork, and they need to focus. So maybe you can recommend some foods that can allow them to stay focused, you know, at the tuitions or doing homework or exams,
or even in classes.
Yeah, in classes. What can allow them to, you know, stay relatively?
Actually, the most important thing in terms of that is to have a balanced meal. Balanced meal spaced out throughout the day. Too often, what happens with teenagers is they have very big meals,
Yep.
and then they don't eat for a long time. So that spikes up the blood sugar and brings it down again. And because it's going up and down, your energy levels will be going up and down. And that actually decreases your concentration. So what you like to do is to have many multi-meals throughout the day. So like probably 5 meals if you can.
Wow, okay.
3 main meals and maybe 2 snacks, not really like 5 meals. So that will balance out your energy levels, and that will actually help them concentrate a lot more.
There you go. That's a very educational bit of advice, especially for parents out there who are constantly going, 1 minute my teenager is bouncing off the wall, the other minute she's just comatose and doesn't want to wake up. I know parents out there going, yeah, that's my teenager, that's my teenager.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll cover one last question though. I mean, it is the case, especially among girls, which is crash diets, you know, and sometimes it leads to extreme conditions such as anorexia and bulimia where they start trying to kill themselves. So any advice for parents on that?
The most important thing for parents to know is that crash diets don't usually work. And the reason for that is because when they crash diet and they don't usually exercise, a crash diet, they will also lose the muscle mass, and your metabolism will actually slow down. And you can't really stay on that kind of diet for a long time. So once they eat those calorie-dense food again, they will balloon up probably higher than previously.
I see. So crash diets are actually counterproductive.
Yeah, it's counterproductive. So parents need to be educated about that, and they need to tell and educate their kids about it. And that's probably the most important point. Otherwise, they'll be just going yo-yo up and down.
Yeah, and the first step, I think, with situations like that, with regards to what you were asking about, is also to first take notice or take an interest in your kids' you know, eating habits.
Exactly.
I think that it starts from there. Once you take interest, if you notice something's wrong, you know, why is my daughter getting so thin? You know, why are her teeth, you know, looking a bit yellow? Those are signs, you know. So you need to be aware. You need to be, you know, involved in your kid's life, and not just certain aspects of it, but you know, even just in terms of the nutrition and food as well.
Sound advice.
There's great focus as well. So of course, for parents out there, we understand, of course, the pressures of life, and sometimes working 2 jobs and both parents working. But of course, the children are your responsibility after all, and far from it to say that we should be shirking it. So of course, right here, we like to maintain the fact that focus on your children. Talk to them, speak to them, communicate with them.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Start early.
Start early. That is what we're trying to push on. Good nutrition starts during your younger years, and it pushes on during your teenagers. It doesn't stop right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Eugene, thank
Once
you so
again,
much. I'm going to stock up on vitamin C, that's for sure. Much
All right.
appreciated.
Great advice from a very
Always great.
experienced and knowledgeable man here. So we will hopefully see you soon again on the show.